we are starting with a new chapter, that is respiration in plants. This is chapter 14 for class 11. Now, respiration is a very important process. In the previous videos, we have seen the process of photosynthesis, how it happens, and what is the role of chlorophyll and all. Now, respiration is the next part to it. We know that energy is required by all the living organisms. So, the energy which is required for the living organisms is actually utilized for performing various activities. And these activities, actually, when we talk, are the various life processes. So, energy is required by the organism. And how does this energy comes? The energy is obtained by the oxidation of macromolecules. And these macromolecules are highly complex. So the oxidation of macromolecule will release the energy which is then utilized by the living organisms to perform various kinds of activities. Now, we have been studying and we can understand that only the green plants have the capacity to prepare the food by the process of photosynthesis. So these macromolecules are actually synthesized by the, or they are produced by the plants, and therefore plants are autotrophic and animals are some way or the other way they are dependent upon the plants. It may be direct connection, that is, they may be directly dependent, such as herbivores, or they may be indirectly dependent. So, the animals are not capable of producing the food, except for when we talk of certain kinds of bacteria and all, only green plants are capable. Now, the release of energy. When we are talking of this release of energy by the oxidation of macromolecule, this, when we are talking, these macromolecules are mostly carbon based molecules. And these carbon based molecules, actually, there is, when the carbon carbon bond breaks, there is the release of energy through the oxidation. And this process, this breaking of carbon carbon bond, it happens within the, through oxidation it happens, and also it happens within the cell. This results into the release of large amount of energy. So the carbon carbon bond which is present in the macromolecules, the breaking takes place due to oxidation. It happens within the cells and it releases energy. This energy is stored in the form of ATP, and this ATP is then utilized for performing the activities. Now, the compounds that are oxidized during this process, the oxidation or micromolecules, are called as respiratory substrates. So, we will call them as respiratory substrates. And these respiratory substrates are carbohydrates, proteins, fats, etc. Now, oxidation, when we are saying, this process does not mean that the energy which is being produced during the reaction is released together. This oxidation is highly controlled and regulated. So, the entire process is highly regulated and stepwise. This is a highly regulated and stepwise process. And the energy is released in a systematic manner. Now, this mechanism of breakdown It is taking place within the cell, so we will call this as cellular respiration. Therefore, we are referring it, or we have given a term, cellular respiration. You can make out from the name itself. And respiration is an important process, therefore, because during respiration process, the oxidation is happening, and this oxidation is due to the oxygen which is being taken in during the process of respiration, and carbon dioxide and water are produced as byproducts. So remember, the respiration process, if we say, it is breakdown of the organic material, that is complex food material, and which are known as respiratory substrate, and this releases in, carbon dioxide and water as byproduct. These are the byproducts, and it releases energy which is stored in the form of ATP, and then it is utilized. Now here, since we are studying about the plants, it is important to understand that plants also respire and give out carbon dioxide. But they differ from the animals in not having specialized organs for the gaseous exchange. We have studied about the animals, and animals have complete respiratory system in which the lungs are there. There are other system, that is the trachea, the proper system is there. Whereas plants do not have such systems. Instead, for the gaseous exchange, they have specialized structure. So the gaseous exchange in plants is brought about by two things. First is the stomata. We will call this as gaseous exchange sites in plants, since they do not have a proper mechanism or proper organs. So the first is the stomata, and second is the lenticels. Now the stomata is, as you all are aware, stomata is present in the leaves, and lenticels are found in other parts of the plant such as the stem, etc. Now a question might come to your mind, that why plants do not require specialized organs. Now see over here, plants are also living and animals are also living, but when we compare the plants and the animals, the plants do not require much or highly specialized organs. Now the possible or the reason which we have come to know is, the plants have structures, that is the one which is suitable for the gaseous exchange, that is the stomata. And this stomata facilitates the gaseous exchange, that is the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. Now, since this stomata is present in large numbers, it is present within the leaf, and therefore the plant can manage its own need, because this stomata is present in large number and spread out all over the plant. Also, the second important point is, very less transportation of gas is required, because the plants, since there is large amount of or large number of stomata, every area of the plant is capable of meeting its need. So therefore, they do not require much transportation, unlike the animals which require proper transportation, because the lungs are the site only for the exchange of the gases. The another important point is, plants do not require, because their energy requirement is comparatively much less than that of the animals, they do not require large amount of gases. So these are some of the reasons why the plants do not require specialized organs for respiration. Another important thing is, the plants have, when we talk, the plants have comparatively much lower rate of respiration than the animals. This is also for the reason, because the oxygen is readily available at all times due to the process of photosynthesis which is being taking place within the plant, because oxygen is byproduct of the process of photosynthesis. Now, let us see that how is the process of oxidation or controlled combustion happen. When we are talking of the process of respiration, we have talked about the process. Respiration is a process in which the oxidation of the macromolecules or the complex substances take place, and which results into the formation of carbon dioxide and water and releases large amount of energy. So let us now try and understand or summarize this. C6H12O6, this is the compound which is being formed as a product. This is a product of the photosynthesis, 6 carbon atom structure, and it undergoes the process of oxidation or combustion, we say, and it produces 6 carbon dioxide, 6 water molecules, and it releases 600 calories, calories of this amount of energy, kcal, and this energy is stored in the form of ATP. Now this ATP is, or this process is entirely done in the cell, and therefore this is known as cellular respiration. This process we are calling it as cellular respiration. Now, how this is happening? This is the glucose molecule. So when we talk, this glucose molecule is a 6 carbon structure, and it is present within the cytoplasm. Now, this glucose, which is a 6 carbon atom molecule, breaks up into the pyruvic acid. So, this glucose will break up into pyruvic acid, or we call it as pyruvate. Another term. And this pyruvic acid is a 3 carbon atom structure. It is a process, this process, it is taking place in the cytoplasm. This process of breaking of glucose into pyruvic acid from 6 carbon to 3 carbon takes place in the cytoplasm, and no need of oxygen is there, no need of O2. It happens in absence of oxygen. Now, after this stage, the pyruvic acid can have further breakdown, because we have mentioned already that this is highly systematic or in a controlled manner. So this breakdown is compulsorily happening in the cytoplasm in the absence of oxygen. After this, the fate of the pyruvic acid depends whether the availability of oxygen is there or not. So it happens if oxygen is present, if O2 is present, and another condition is if O2 is absent, that is in absence of oxygen or in presence of oxygen, the pyruvic acid will undergo further breakdown. If oxygen is present, there is complete oxidation. So this will result into complete oxidation. The products will be carbon dioxide and water and energy, of course. This process of breaking down of pyruvic acid into carbon dioxide and water by complete oxidation in presence of oxygen is known as Krebs cycle. This is known as Krebs cycle, and it is also the aerobic respiration. It is known as aerobic respiration because of the reason that the breaking down of pyruvic acid is taking place in presence of oxygen. This process, or the Krebs cycle, occurs in mitochondria. It takes place within the mitochondria. mitochondria. Now, another thing is, so here we go, if oxygen is present, the glucose, that is the 6-carbon molecule structure, will break up compulsorily within the cytoplasm in absence of oxygen into pyruvic acid or the pyruvate, which is a 3-carbon atom. Then the further how this pyruvic acid will break up, it depends upon whether oxygen is available or oxygen is not available. If oxygen is available, then the pyruvic acid will undergo complete oxidation and the products formed will be carbon dioxide and water and release of energy. This process is known as Krebs cycle and it is referred to as aerobic respiration because of the presence of oxygen, and it takes place within the mitochondria. Now, if the oxygen is absent, then incomplete oxidation will take place or incomplete combustion. And over here, the products are ethyl alcohol. We call them as ethyl alcohol, and CO2 is formed. Energy is released, but the amount of energy released is less. So plus energy is released, which is comparatively very less as compared to aerobic breakdown. And it takes place within the cytoplasm. So here no cell organelles are involved. So that means it occurs in cytoplasm. It is known as anaerobic because it is taking place in absence of oxygen, right? Also, the process is fermentation. So here we see the products are completely different. The products over here are carbon dioxide and water and energy, whereas in the absence of oxygen, the products are ethyl alcohol and carbon dioxide, and the amount of energy will also be low. So here is the complete process or an idea, brief introduction, which lets you know that how the cellular respiration happens. And in the next videos, we'll be studying about the Krebs cycle and how this carbon dioxide and the water are formed, and also the fermentation process. From this, we conclude that the glucose breaking into pyruvic acid is a phenomena which is taking place in aerobic respiration also and in the anaerobic respiration.